Awesome. So thank you everybody for coming. Welcome to I don't even know what number it is out of this year, but the September iteration of the Florida Society, the fourth um, webinar in the Florida Society for Ethical Ecotourism educational webinar series. So this event is hosted monthly, started in June. Our last one will take place in November. It's on the second Wednesday of every month at this exact same time from 7 to 8 p.m. And we have got a lot of exciting topics, and you'll hear on from a variety of agencies and representatives as well. So today I'll get into and introducing myself. I'm associated with Florida Sea Grant, but we also have speakers from FAU, the Florida Atlantic University, their Harbor Branch campus, and FWC as well. After every webinar, we are going to send out an evaluation that just helps us understand how we can improve our own programming and continue to justify these free educational programs that my colleagues and I run. And if you arrived early, you probably saw that Carolyn and I were sorting out which one of us was hitting record. And the reason that we did that is so that we can post this to YouTube. And we just wanted to point out that if you are watching on YouTube, that survey should still be active, and there will be a link to it in the show notes. So we would appreciate that even if you're not watching live, that you go ahead and fill that out. So we expect that the presentation will likely take a little bit less than the hour today. We've got some time for some Q&A at the end. That being said, my colleague, Carolyn Kovach, is on, and she will be monitoring the chat and answering any questions or interjecting if she thinks it's pertinent based on sort of where we are in the presentation. So now that we've taken care of all of that, I'm assuming that if you guys were not hearing or seeing me, that I would have figured that out by this point. So I am just going to share my screen and we can get started. Alrighty. So I think I touched a little bit on that welcome. So everybody, yes, thank you to the fourth iteration of the 2025 Florida Society for Ethical Ecotourism webinar series. Like I said, today, my colleague Carolyn Kovach will be monitoring, and I am Kate Rose. It is a first name and a last name. It's not like Mary Kate. I do get that quite a bit. And I am the Florida Sea Grant Extension Agent for Charlotte County. I got my bachelor's and my master's from the University of Florida and was hired by the university and the county as well as Sea Grant, which is affiliated with NOAA, basically to be that connective tissue between the research that occurs at the university level and the end users, who are you people, who are you guys, in the community and engaging with you guys, sort of utilizing that science-based research that the university is using. So part of my program also includes leading the Florida Master Naturalist classes in Charlotte County, which is what I'm going to be speaking on today, and how that connects to the Florida Society for Ethical Ecotourism. I feel really fortunate that I've gotten to inherit this legacy of the Florida Master Naturalist Program from my predecessor, Betty Stogler. She started offering the program here in Charlotte County in 2007, and I took over as lead instructor in 2023. So today, I'm going to be talking to you about what the program is, what it is to run it, quite frankly, why I enjoy it. I'll lead with that right off the bat. But before we do, I do want to talk a little bit about why we're here and what the general scheme of this webinar series is. So another part of my job is that I, along with Carolyn and a third colleague of ours, Mike Sipos, who's based in Collier County, a bit south of me, serve on the board for the Florida Society for Ethical Ecotourism, which was established in 1998 by a group of ecotour operators to establish and maintain a professional code of ecotourism ethics in order to encourage awareness and stewardship of Florida's natural heritage. So the benefits, if you're an ecotour operator or an ecotourist and you're looking to recreate sort of responsibly in all of the beautiful environments that Florida has to offer, this is a great resource for you. If you're an ecotour operator and you can earn this certification, you get the benefit of some additional support in your advertising, as well as, a peer network of like-minded people who are trying to operate their businesses in a similar way. And part of that opportunity, that's additional support, is making it easy for kind of creating a centralized space where ecotourists who are aware of these principles and want to make sure that they're recreating responsibly can visit the Florida Sea website and see a list of Florida Society for Ethical Ecotourism certified providers. And of course, the benefit is getting to participate in educational activities such as the one that you are participating in right now. So I've just thrown quite a few, name dropped quite a few organizations. We have the Florida Society for Ethical Ecotourism is at play, the Florida Master Naturalist Program, Florida Sea Grant. And the good news about when I was putting this presentation together is that they're all pretty like-minded organizations. So for example, this screenshot is from the Florida Master Naturalist Program website, and it cites that their mission is to promote awareness, understanding, and respect of Florida's natural world among Florida's citizens and its visitors. The Florida Society for Ethical Ecotourism has something very similar featured on their website as well, right? They're dedicated to maintaining a professional code of ecotourism ethics in order to encourage an awareness and a stewardship of Florida's natural and cultural heritage by providing environmental education and awareness, which encourages behaviors that contribute to the sustainability of Florida's natural ecosystem and resources, and also promoting professionalism and integrity within the ecotourism industry by providing and maintaining a certification and recognition program for ecotour providers. And we'll talk about how the Florida Master Naturalist Program will support Florida Sea in that number 3 specifically. And then third, but last but certainly not least, we have Florida Sea Grant, right? Which is a university-based program that supports research, education, and extension with the goal of conserving coastal resources for residents and visitors and enhancing economic opportunities for the people of Florida, right? That's what we're trying to get at here. We want there to be a thriving economy and businesses here, but we also want to do it within the realm of protecting our ecosystems so that we can have those activities long into the future. So that being said, we can get into it, discussing how we're enhancing ecotourism with the Florida Master Naturalist Program. And while I'm very excited to be talking to you all today, I thought that the best way to introduce you guys to the program was to let you hear from the founder himself. Dr. Marty Main is a professor within the Wildlife and Ecology Conservation Program at the University of Florida right now, but he's also moved up through extension the way Carolyn and I have. This was actually a program that he founded when he was doing a job very similar to the one that I am doing now. So I'll let him say what he's got to say for y'all.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Marty Main, and I created the Florida Master Naturalist Program. I'd like to take a moment to speak to you about the goals of the program and the format of our courses. The Florida Master Naturalist Program mission is to increase awareness, understanding, and respect for Florida's natural world. You, as Master Naturalists, play an important role in that mission. This mission is based on the philosophy that was probably best stated by a Senegalese forester named Baba Dayoum, who said, "We will only conserve what we love. We will only love what we understand, and we will only understand what we are taught." Our objectives in the Florida Master Naturalist Program are to prepare you and empower you to carry out this mission by sharing your knowledge and your passion for Florida's natural world with others, with people we may otherwise never reach. By doing so, you are contributing to a grassroots movement to fulfill our mission and strengthen the conservation ethic in Florida. These are ambitious goals, and our curricula, which include both classroom learning and field trips, are more rigorous than most environmental education programs. We are sometimes asked, why don't we just do field trips? Well, field trips are important, and field trips are fun, but the information that they can transfer is limited and localized. Our goal is to provide a statewide perspective in our core courses, with instructors providing their local knowledge and local emphasis, especially during field trips. The videos play an important role in providing.
Alrighty. So Marty goes on to discuss a little bit more of what we're going to talk about today, which is sort of the execution of these courses and what they look like.
The videos were produced in the early 2000s.
Excuse me. So, Marty mentioned these core courses that make up the Florida Master Naturalist Program, and they sort of divide Florida's environments up into three chunks, I guess. We have our coastal systems, our upland systems, and our freshwater systems, sort of those systems in between. And like Marty said, the curriculum that he's created provides a statewide perspective on all of the environments throughout Florida in those classes. But on top of that, there's also an additional local context that the instructors can provide. And there's some other elements that sort of further the mission of Florida Master Naturalists, right? So Marty talked about empowering people to go forth with the information that they learned in these courses. So these three courses that you see here on the screen are 40 contact hours each. If you complete them all, regardless of how long it takes, the order that you do them in, you will earn the certification of Florida Master Naturalist. And to demonstrate that, I can tell you guys the story of a student of mine who took 5 years to complete all three of these courses due to COVID and some other personal stuff that come up. But we were all so excited to see him graduate when he finally completed his coastal course in, I believe, 2024. And so these courses aren't just about the information that we're providing, it's that extra element of appreciation of empowerment. So when we're talking about 40 contact hours, we're talking about a lot of diverse activities that are not just sitting in front of a PowerPoint screen and being told about what is going on outside. In fact, you can see from this breakdown of the content of all the courses of sort of a typical core course within the Florida Master Naturalist curriculum. Only about 26% of it is made up of presentations in sort of a traditional classroom format. 30% of the time we spend outside sort of trying to make those connections beyond just showing you pictures and also getting you really involved with your local environment as well. 11% of that is interpretation practice. So that's that extra element of trying to equip our students with the skills to go forth and do something with the information and hopefully the appreciation that they attain in class. And the rest of the content is, either supplemental videos, things that are covered, the administrative stuff, the introductions, and 22% of it is up to your instructor as well. And that's really where you're going to get sort of that local element. So, as an example of sort of what those local influences can be, I figured I would tell you a little bit how we structure our courses in Charlotte County. So, of course, we're dependent on the state curriculum, which provides context for our environments, all the way from Miami up to the Panhandle and everything in between. And the way that we sort of provide this, one of the ways that we provide these local tie-in besides the field trips is to actually depend on guest speakers to deliver that content to our students. So this is just a sampling of some of the organizations that our guest speakers come from. We have some local fishermen who are also authors and host a local radio show. We have representatives from FWC. This FDACS, the Florida Department of Agricultural and Consumer Services, is meant to reflect that we have a forester that comes and speaks. We have our Florida Master Gardener volunteers. Heal Our Harbor is a local nonprofit that works to achieve clean water in the area, as well as we've hosted courses at the Charlotte Harbor Environmental Center. And the reason that I want to include this is for a couple of reasons. First, I think it demonstrates sort of the flexibility that exists in the courses. If you're interested in providing them, this provides a really good avenue that the students really seem to enjoy being able to make these connections and hear from local experts. But I can tell you as an instructor too, it also makes my life a lot easier to not have to provide every single lecture. So it kind of has that double-edged sword. And in addition, right, so since we're associated with the Florida Society for Ethical Ecotourism for this webinar, this is a really good networking opportunity as well. So we've seen a lot of students actually network and get connected with some of our speakers and maintain a connection beyond the class as well. So at this point, we might probably have a mix of eco-tour providers, eco-tourists, people who are generally interested today. But if you're an eco-tour provider or if you have experience in this space, you might be thinking, why do I need to take a Florida Master Naturalist course? I have a degree in biology. I am constantly out, kayaking. I know these waters in a way that this course isn't going to be able to get at. Why waste the time? And I'll confess, I thought the same thing. But I thought that this quote from one of the surveys that the program administers really illustrated sort of the value of it beyond that traditional education that you may or may not already have. So this person said, I was extremely impressed with the course. I have a background in biology and ecology and was hesitant about taking this course as it may just repeat what I already knew. That was not the case. The course built upon my knowledge base, and I learned many new concepts and ideas. The field trips were spot on and were the perfect complement to our in-class studies. And I just wanted to add as well, so like I mentioned, I have a bachelor's and a master's from the University of Florida. When I first moved to Charlotte County for the position I currently have, this was actually one of the first things I signed up for. It was really helpful in helping me, understand the issues and sort of the environmental factors that are going on in my area, but also it helped me physically orient myself to the area and where the natural areas were. It possesses sort of this extra element of, I often tell my students, because we've got 40 hours with them, right? Unfortunately, we can't confer the content that would provide somebody a bachelor's or a master's degree within that time period. So I always say what our goal is to foster an appreciation for the resources that we are discussing. And that just comes with a little bit of extra magic. You get in a room with like-minded people, and I can tell you, even with my background in this space and the fact that I've been teaching the course, I'm going on my third year now and leading the courses in Charlotte County. Every year I learn something from my students. Somebody comes in with some new perspective, whether or not they've spent, their entire childhood on the waters around here, or I know that there are some people in attendance today that, may or might be familiar with master naturalist programs in other states. And it's really, really fun to watch everybody make the connection. Florida Master Naturalist might also benefit those who are wishing to increase their knowledge for use in educational programs, whether you're a volunteer, an employee, an ecotourism guide, and so much so that we actually see a fair amount of professionals in these courses. So it's evident to us that they see value in it. So approximately 30% of the Florida Master Naturalist audience across the state self-identified as professionals. So those professionals include things like eco-tour guides, they include teachers and educators, park rangers, natural resource managers, environmental consultants. Again, I've included some logos here for the agencies that we've been able to touch on within truly just the past 2 years within Charlotte County. This doesn't even touch upon my predecessor's work. So we've had students from the Charlotte Harbor Environmental Center, the Charlotte County itself within the Natural Resources Department, some eco-tour operators like Sup Englewood and Babcock Ranch eco-tours, as well as professionals in the space. So we've had students from the Charlotte Harbor Aquatic Preserves, which is a subsidiary of the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, as well as some county governments. We even had some Lee County employees that specifically took the course because they were given an assignment within, I have to admit, I don't know how their courses are, their county government is structured, but these two employees were tasked with designing a new nature preserve. And they didn't feel that they had the expertise to do that. And so they said, let's take a Florida Master Naturalist course and sort of get what we need in that base understanding. So in addition to the fact that, we hope you learn a lot from the content and the field trip and develop a sense of appreciation and connection and wanting to do something and giving you the tools to go forth in conservation, again, just the sheer likelihood that you're going to have somebody in your class that can be useful to you later in your life, whether or not that's personal. And I'll admit I've made, some really great personal and professional connections in this class. It's really rewarding to get in a room with a lot of like-minded people. And it does have an impact. So these results here are from a survey that was administered from students who took Florida Master Naturalist courses all throughout the state within 2024. And it asked, did the Florida Master Naturalist Program assist in obtaining a new job or promotion and or establish and expand a new business? And you can see that 38% of people that answered that question said yes. They say things like the program did so much for me. The Florida Master Naturalist allowed me to move from an enthusiastic volunteer and transition into a professional paid with notable contributions, worth more than I could have originally paid for. And we also have this quote here specifically from teachers and educators too. It's great to see that these ideas potentially moving into classrooms where they can access youth as well. But the other reason I wanted to include this is because, in a way, ecotour operators are teaching people how to interact with these resources responsibly. So even these teacher and educators are using Florida Master Naturalist information in their programs or classrooms, or at least 86% of them reported that they are. And on top of that, we get a fair amount of ecotourism businesses that utilize Florida Master Naturalist almost in a similar way that they use the Florida Society for Ethical Ecotourism certification to bolster their credibility and to sort of attract people who are their target audiences, right? Who are looking for businesses where they can interact with Florida's environments responsibly. And we've even seen that just in our own courses within Charlotte County. So one of the elements of the courses, right, we're talking about that extra element beyond just sort of being able to teach people about the natural environments, is this extra element where we're really trying to sort of personally develop people. We want people to be connected to the nature. And one of the ways that we do that is sort of within that slice of the pie, that 11% of environmental interpretation that I showed earlier on in the presentation. And part of that interpretation practice is that each course requires a final project. The guidance for this project is specifically vague, but we request that participants take what they've learned in the course, including their interpretation skills, including the lectures that they've had on environmental ethics, in addition to the biology, the ecology, the chemistry, all of the sciences. And they synthesize that information into a project where they're utilizing their interpretive skills. And it's just a delight to see what people come up with because they really follow their passions. And we've also had people produce projects that have legs beyond just the class. So, for example, we've had some Florida Master Gardener volunteers in our course, and they have produced pamphlets that have gotten the stamp of approval here in Charlotte County from the Charlotte County government. And the Charlotte County government now distributes them because they were really excited about creating a pamphlet of plants that people could plant in their lawn after saltwater inundation. She was really into flowers. She married her master gardener background with her newfound master naturalist knowledge and created a product that has been really useful. And I think that this video, which is going to talk about another student of ours associated, Ashley Cook, with the Charlotte Harbor Environmental Center, will sort of get at that.
My name is Ashley Cook. I am the park manager of the Alligator Creek Preserve in Punta Gorda. I work for the Charlotte Harbor Environmental Center, which is a nonprofit organization that has been dedicated for the last 37 years to providing environmental education, recreation, and conservation efforts to our community. My experience with the Florida Master Naturalist Program was phenomenal. I think that anytime you get these types of groups of people in one room that, regardless of their background or, their professional career pathways, everybody there has some level of passion and interest in the environment. And I think you're able to really start up some interesting and really wonderful conversations and questions that just spiral, from there. What I really loved about our program, which I completed all in Charlotte County, was that they tied everything that we were learning, from our presentations into field trips, local field trips. So I think that was one of my favorite parts about this program, and what I love so much about it is that it takes you deeper than just following along in your manual or in a presentation. You get those real life examples of what you're being taught, and it's retained so much easier and so much more enjoyable as well. The Uplands Animal Neighbors ties into a program that I'm actually developing in real life called Animal Neighbors. So the program is kind of inspired by development and habitat fragmentation that has, unfortunately pushed wildlife and humans closer and closer together. So with that, we see, a lot more wildlife that might be roaming through our residential areas or in our backyards. And unfortunately, that creates a lot of fear of the unknown and a lot of misunderstandings when it comes to our wildlife as well. So this program is kind of designed to bridge those gaps, to be able to provide the information on who are these, animal neighbors that you might be seeing, why are they, popping up now, and kind of shed some light on some of the challenges that they might be facing so that we can empathize a little bit better with them, but also be able to share, the benefits of having them, in your community or in your backyard, and also provide, some safety tips for some of those animals as well. We wanted to create a guidebook that they could kind of refer back to that would help them identify these animals, some of their benefits, and some of the do's and don'ts, right, of, what to do or not do if you are encountering them. So for our final project, we created the Upland Animal Neighbors portion of that guidebook, where me and my teammates, selected a certain amount of critters to kind of shed some light on and share that information with. The interactions that you get within your own, individual modules, everybody is completely different each time, but the passion and the interest stays the same every time. And it's a really comforting and safe zone, I think, in general, but especially for furthering your education as well. So if anybody is really looking to learn more, but also make connections with, your local community as well, the Florida Master Naturalist Program is a wonderful way of doing that.
So there's that kind of example, I guess, straight from the horse's mouth on some of the value that this program provides. Of course, with that project space, right? Like Ashley got to take something that she was doing with her work and basically expand upon it in class with the supervision of her instructors and the support of her teammates. But I'm really also glad that she received a lot of sort of community engagement and connection and networking out of it as well. And the good news is there is so much more than just those core courses that I discussed in the beginning. So those core courses are 40 hours of contact. These courses are 24 hours each, the ones that are up on the screen. They're shorter and they're a little bit of a deeper dive into more specific subject areas. So those along the top row, those are on, we sort of designate as our land steward track. So you just want to understand a little bit more about nature and what's going on. So you can develop some skills with environmental interpretation, as well as wildlife monitoring and habitat evaluation. So it's really teaching you how to interact with the landscape in that way. The bottom tract is our restoration courses, right? So we've got coastal, marine habitat. So that's sort of on the shore versus on the water specifically. Invasive plants, often we're discussing removal when we're discussing invasive plants, as well as freshwater restoration. So if you were to complete all of your core courses in addition to these, again, at your own leisure, there's no specific time period, then you would receive the certificate of Advanced Florida Master Naturalist. So it's really a pick your own adventure based on really what interests you. Although I would encourage you to keep your interests broad. I came in as a Florida Sea Grant Extension agent. The first class that I took in Charlotte County with the instructors who were there when I arrived was uplands. And that was quite a departure from what I have normally taken in the past, but it's kind of become one of my favorite courses because it's really taught me to view those areas in which I honestly used to just view them as it's not the ocean. Why would I care? But I can see now that there's um, so many interesting organisms there in the way that it functions as well. So hopefully at this point, I've convinced you that this course is worth pursuing, and now we can get into how to participate. And the good news is that we have got a pretty full covered state if you want to take a Master Naturalist course. So on this map here, every county that's filled in green has a set of Florida Master Naturalist instructors within it. Sometimes those instructors are extension agents like myself, often they are, but anybody can be a Florida Master Naturalist instructor, and we'll get into that and potentially why that might interest you, potentially as an ecotourism business as well. So, sort of to touch on that a little bit further, we've got about 165 certified Florida Master Naturalist instructors throughout the state, spread over these green counties. And those 165 instructors facilitate the graduation of about 1,000 to 1,500 graduates from those courses per year. So over time, based on the length of the program, we're looking at about 31,000 for the Master Naturalist graduate certificates that have been issued. And the best way to find out about these courses is truly just to visit the website. I think Marty nailed it when he said in his video that he described this as a grassroots movement. So despite the fact that he and his team are providing sort of this overall structure, the local instructors get to offer courses at a time that works for them and gets to sort of offer that flexibility in that engagement with the community. For example, gets a little bit colder in the panhandle, during the winter, they might be more inclined to offer courses at a different time than say Miami or Broward. And the good news is with all of these options, that there's even more flexibility with the modalities in which the courses are offered. So we've got, of course, 100% in person, as we do here in Charlotte County. We've got 100% online, so you're doing your lectures online, sort of exactly as you guys are now, so you've nailed it. But then you go out and you receive instructions for self-directed field trips. Or you can do a little bit of a hybrid. So there's also options where you have your lectures online and then you connect with people for the field trips specifically. And I will say that I have been shocked at at the flexibility of our students, I guess. I've had students drive over from Palm Beach County in Charlotte County. So, Carolyn, can you see my mouse?
Yep.
So Charlotte County, this is us down here. This is I've had students come from the Indian River Lagoon. Once a week, they drive across the state to come hang out with me and their fellow classmates, which is great. And these online options also provide some value as well. Oh yeah, please, Carolyn, jump in.
I was gonna say I teach a coastal systems class every spring, and we do that one fully in person. But I also partner with one of my colleagues who's in Brevard County, and so we teach some hybrid specialty topics together. And that way, she and I can both do the teaching from we're an hour and a half apart from each other, and then we meet up on some Saturdays for some in-person field trips. So that's worked out well, and we've been able. That class we had people from all over the state as well. So yeah, there is really a wide range of the classes based on the topic and who's teaching them and where they are. And for some of my classes, we've had to take field trips. Sometimes we do very local field trips, and other times we've traveled pretty far because the type of habitat we want to check out is not right nearby. So just to let you know, there's such like a wide range, and it really varies. And I think most people prefer in person, but we also acknowledge the fact that there's some benefit to having online or online/hybrid because we know that not everybody can get to where all the classes are all the time.
And also, I was going to touch on, thanks, Carolyn, thanks for adding that, because I was also going to touch on that apprehension by bringing up Anna and Laura's course. So these are two Florida Sea Grant agents who, during COVID, were trying to provide educational content safely. And one of them is based in Miami-Dade County, and the other one is based in Okaloosa. So everybody probably knows where Miami is, but Okaloosa is up here in this Panhandle region. And they reported a lot of success because their students were able to interact and talk about the differences in their environments from the respective sort of parts of the state without necessarily having to travel. So they got sort of even that added perspective. So we got a lot of options and a lot of flexibility. And the best way to sort of figure out what works for you and what's available is to use this QR code to visit the Florida Master Naturalist website and view the schedule. I did want to mention there is a cost associated with these courses. So our core courses, which are our longer ones, got a base rate of $350 and then a $75 surcharge if you'd like a printed manual. Everybody's provided a virtual version of the manual. And I wanted to point this out, because on that website, which we will put up a QR code for again, there are some opportunities for scholarships if this is inhibitive. I will also point out that Florida Master Naturalist does offer continuing education units or continuing learning units. And despite the fact that this might be inhibitive for some, in the grand scheme of those who are required to have continuing education units from the research that I was able to do, this is probably on the lower end of the cost for earning those continuing education units. And I happen to think a lot more fun as well, although I am biased. And the other reason I wanted to bring it up is because if you were interested in becoming an instructor, whether that's something that fits into your business model, it's worth noting that of this registration, $90 of every student's registration is going back to the instructors and the instructor team. And so that is used for running the course itself. But I'll also tell you that like any surplus we have in Charlotte County, that's something that immediately goes into my program slush fund. That means I can buy more seagrass monitoring kits for another program as well. So the rest of that registration goes to Marty and his administrative support as well. So to keep the program running and maintain that credibility. So based on, let me give you an example. So as a Florida Sea Grant Extension agent, we have a lot of pretty diverse activities that we do to engage with the community. And a good rule of thumb in a world in which we all have too much to do and not enough time to do it is that you should only participate in a program if you can report upon it to the university, it makes you money, or you enjoy it. And Florida Master Naturalist is all three of those for me. So based on the amount of work, the good news is you get a canned, not a canned curriculum, but you do get a curriculum to rely on, right? That you get to then sort of bring out. So that may or may not fit into your business model, but I did just sort of want to present it as an option. So if you're interested in becoming a Florida Master Naturalist instructor, I mentioned earlier that anybody can do it. So of course we get a lot of Florida Sea Grant Extension agents, but really all that's involved in this process is submitting your application to the Florida Master Naturalist Advisory Board. We will send out an email with all of this information as well as some additional resource links. Tomorrow, my email will be associated with that. I'm on the Florida Master Naturalist Advisory Board. So if that's something that you're interested in and need a little support on, I'd be happy to help. And so, for example, when we are reviewing those applications that we receive, we're looking at things like educational and practical experience, access to facilities for teaching, and sort of the regional need, right? If there's maybe 6 coastal courses going on at the exact same time and none of them can be filled, that would be a moment for pause for us. But I want to assure you guys that if you're interested in becoming a Florida Master Naturalist instructor, we're looking for people who we feel confident can create an educational and a positive learning environment. I know for a fact that one of my assistant instructors is attending today, and I know for a fact he had a degree in water engineering, not super ecology based. And after taking the course, he's constantly telling me that this isn't his background, but dang it if he doesn't make a really good instructor, because he can really sort of be that middle person between, your sort of traditionally educated instructors as well as those who are entirely new to ecology in general. And so, in conclusion, I just want to point out the Florida Master Naturalist Program works to enhance ecotourism by promoting awareness, understanding, and respect of Florida's natural environments, the way that the Florida Society for Ethical Ecotourism does, the way that IFAS strives to, the way that Florida Sea Grant strives to. Provides educational development and networking opportunity to ecotourists and operators. By the way, or your customers as well might also be interested in this. And it allows participants to utilize Florida Master Naturalist class time and resources to potentially enhance their business goals, whether you're going to target your final project towards your work or become an instructor yourself. And hopefully, as this class picture from one of the uplands courses that we've taught here in Charlotte County demonstrates, it's simply fun on top of all of that. It's really a good time. Like I said, all three of those things. It helps provide money for some of our programs, our educational programs here that we do at the university. It provides a really big impact, which of course we get to report upon, but quite frankly, just feels good as well. And it's a really lovely time. So with that being said, I am going to take this opportunity to do two things. First of all, remind you that whether you're watching on YouTube or live, I think Carolyn is going to help facilitate the administration of the survey. Nope, not yet. We'll make sure we get you that survey. If you're watching on YouTube, you can use this QR code or visit it in the comments section. Before I promote our next educational webinars that are coming up as well. So we've got one more in October, which is on marine mammals, and that will be provided by the Florida Atlantic University Harbor Branch facility. I would also like to point out that I am offering a freshwater systems course in Charlotte County starting on October 2nd. It exists on the way that we've conducted it is we do 6 consecutive Thursdays to cover those 40 hours. But if you're in the Southwest Florida area, or Carolyn and I discussed, the options that there are for traveling as well, if you were so amenable, we do have some opportunities available to get into that class if you were interested. And we just encourage you to visit the Florida Master Naturalist website. That being said, I'm happy to take any questions that have come up.